Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Hobart Parks Challenge. I was attempting to visit every single park, reserve and playground in Hobart in a single day, and things had been going well. My journey had begun in Mount Nelson, where I proceeded to ride across the Fern Tree via Tolman's Hill and Ridgeway. After dropping down into South Hobart, I detoured up the Waterworks Valley before descending again, this time into the Denern and Sandy Bay region. You rejoined me at the Southern Outlet and Davey Street intersection, with 18 of the 104 parks visited and 27 kilometres of the 74 ridden.
Oh, this is quite bad terrain. Sorry? Alright, yeah, no, I agree.
After the fright with the ute, who only saw the red traffic light at the last moment, and the conversation that followed, I made my way down to Macquarie Street and subsequently found myself stuck.
Great, now I'm on the wrong side of the road because I've got to get down Gore Street.
Thankfully, the wait was short, and I managed to cross to the other side and down Gore Street to reach park number 19.
Hobart Linear Park. It runs from Mole Street all the way up through to the Female Factory. Some people just call it the Rivulet track, but technically it is the Linear Park, so it's counted on the list.
Hobart Linear Park marked the beginning of a tough stretch of riding. First of all, I had to deal with a long staircase to reach my next park.
Why couldn't this be a ramp? Peace Park. I'm into West Hobart now. This is where it's going to start getting quite hilly with a lot of undulation. Oh, that staircase was a killer.
Undulation, my worst nightmare. For every time I descended, I knew that I would have to back it up with a climb. As you can see here, my route took me up into West Hobart, back down to North Hobart, back up again to Mount Stewart, down again into Newtown, followed by another climb up into Lenna Valley, before yet another descent to Lenna Valley Road. This was my future for the next few hours. But for now, I was ticking off another park and resigning myself to the fact that Mole Street was just too steep.
Sorry everyone. This hill, Mole Street, there's just one hill I'm not going to be able to ride up, especially when I've got many kilometres to go.
A few minutes later, I had made it up onto Hill Street before turning left onto Lansdowne Crescent with lactic acid burning. Thankfully the road was flat, and after making the couple in the Nissan Micra wait, I arrived at the next stop.
So there's a small playground up there, but the main reason I'm here, or the park that I'm after, is the West Hobart Oval, which is just through those trees, so I'll quickly run up. Right next to Lansdowne Crescent Primary.
From the Oval, some backtracking was required to reach the top of Warwick Street. A speedy downhill ride ensued, with a quick stop at a popular park.
Yeah, I'm talking about Kalangs Park, which is better known as the Train Park. I was going to get some footage of it, but there are a lot of people here at the moment and I don't want to look like a bit of a creep filming a playground. So yeah, I'll just keep going. I'm pretty sure everyone in Hobart knows the Train Park, so yeah.
Riding down Warwick Street was extremely enjoyable. Not even a red light was going to stop me.
Here's one way to avoid a red light. Let's go on the footpath.
A minor detour was required, so I could tick off the North Hobart Skate Park, or Cultural Park as it is often referred to as, such as on this sign. I returned to Warwick Street and arrived at park number 25.
Such an original name, isn't it? Elizabeth and Warwick Street Park. Definitely one of the smallest I've been to so far. That probably play area on Mole Street is probably smaller. Close to the CBD at the moment. Oh no. Heading up there for my next one. boat's gonna wait for me and couldn't get off the mark.
It was now 10 o'clock and I'd covered more than a third of the distance in less than a third of the daylight hours. I continued to utilise Warwick Street with a minor detour required shortly after this steep climb.
St Andrews Park. You know, I don't think I've actually ever been here before. It's a nice enough spot, but it's park number 26 out of 104, so that's a quarter of the park's done. Thankfully for me, more than a quarter of the distance rode. In fact, more than a third of the distance rode.
After some perfect timing with the traffic lights, I was onto Argyle Street and riding past numerous car dealers. At SOUNDY Park, I made a statement that can only be described as prophetic.
It's time to go back up into the hills of West Hobart and Mount Stewart. The part of the route that's going to be trickiest for me, I reckon.
And climb I did. Burnett Street and Arthur Street were my chosen roads as I waited at traffic lights and watched cars cruise on by, tackling the ascent with ease. I forced myself onwards in the knowledge that there was a park in close proximity. I briefly veered off Arthur Street to pass through John Dogger Park, which was quite busy, and so I decided not to stop. More climbing followed until a little bit of respite at the Hill Street and Mellifont Street intersection, where I ticked off another park.
Right, this is Friends Park, somewhere I've actually never been before as well. And for some reason cars keep doing U-turns right outside it, and they're probably all staring at me thinking, what the hell am I doing? But yeah, here it is.
Anyone who knows the streets of Hobart well knows all about Mellifont Street. As one of the steepest in Hobart, it terrorises cyclists, drivers with weaker car engines and pedestrians with its crazy incline. Thankfully I didn't have to go all the way up it.
Good thing this is where I'm going.
After popping in to tick off Leonard Wall Reserve, I then had to ride up Cato Street. This wasn't what you'd call a steep climb, but I was feeling it after a lot of uphill riding recently. On tired legs, I eventually reached the end of the road and the Providence Valley Reserve.
It's quite nice in here. Some sandstone outcrops up there.
The steps were a nightmare.
Oh man, these steps are killing me. Oh, but back on the road now.
And once I reached Cliff Street, I found myself having to walk a few hundred metres as a bit of a break.
But I'm almost halfway, I think.
Eventually I made it up to an extremely large roundabout.
With 5 different roads. Anyway, I'm going this way.
Where I had to make a detour up yet another incline to tick off a large and popular reserve.
Right, Knocklofty Reserve. I've decided to approach it from the Mount Stewart side instead of the West Hobart end, just because it was less of a detour. You know, Forest Road goes a long way up. Oh, tough work. This is the highest point I'll be at in terms of elevation for the rest of the ride. There's still a lot of undulation to go though, so yeah. Oh.
At last, some downhill riding. From Keith White Crescent, I followed a bit of a track down to reach Mount Stewart Park. This wasn't without its hiccups though.
Crap staircase. Hey, they've got a big blue slide like Parliament Street Park. Oh, it's not as big actually. Hey, this is an alright spot. I've got the slide here. You've got the big oval down there. There you go, just get a glimpse. I don't have to film with my digital camera. Could use a nice easy stretch of riding. Luckily, that's what the doctor's ordered. That's what's in store for me. What a weird intersection. God, I hope I don't have to go up there.
I utilised the relatively flat Benjafield Terrace to make my way over to Elphinstone Road.
Yeah, I think I'm all good.
Apart from the classic West Hobart Mount Stewart route used to bypass the CBD, I had not done much in the way of visitation to this area of Hobart.
Thought that guy was just going to go straight through.
Once at the roundabout, I made a minor detour to tick off a small but rather nice little park on Rosina Court.
Here I am at Rosina Court Playground. It's actually not a bad little spot, tiny little swing set. But yeah, it's a small playground for a small cul-de-sac. Go any slower.
I held up traffic on my return from Rosina Court as I turned onto the smooth and most importantly downhill Gordon Avenue, followed by Montague Street. It was on this stretch of road where I reached a very significant milestone. I was halfway through the ride. I may have only visited 34 of the 104 parks at this point, but it was a nice feeling to reach this point. I made a quick stop at the Doyle Avenue playground, which unsurprisingly is located on Doyle Avenue, before heading down to meet Augusta Road. I was a little nervous about trying to cross here, but I need not have worried.
I'm going to get over. Don't really want to ride on the road here.
I think I startled this guy at the bus stop, and I was soon back on Montague Street, continuing my downhill ride to the next park on the route. Next up, a place I had never been to before.
Good to be in the back half of the ride now, even if I haven't visited half the parks yet. Fairfield Playground right here, another one I've never been to before. And I can get two parks in one go here because just down here is Clare Street Oval, which I actually don't think I've been here either, to be honest. Driven past it a few times, but I've never actually walked into the Oval. There we go, consider it bagged.
With two more parks ticked off the list, it was a straightforward ride through Newtown to reach my next stop, utilising Oakley Street and Pedder Street to get there.
Keep going. Traffic here already. Didn't realise it was so close. Once again, I'm not going into this park just because there's a lot of people there. Don't want to look like a creep, you know. Oh, let's press on.
From John Kennedy Park, I had to cross over the Giblin Street and Forster Street intersection to reach the new subdivision of Garrington Park. I'd never been in here before, and the subdivision was so new that there was no Google Street View in the area. Fortunately for me, satellite imagery revealed the presence of a certain park within its clean, spanking new streets.
I'm not actually sure what this playground's called, but given it's in this Garrington Park subdivision, let's just call it that, Garrington Park Playground. GoPro's starting to get a bit loose, you can see it's wobbling around a bit, so I'll have to adjust that.
I enjoyed the easy riding through Garrington Park for a little longer, before returning to Giblin Street. However, I decided to utilise Wellwood and Shawfield Streets to avoid a long climb up to the Giblin Street Augusta Road intersection.
Things get a bit timing. Half decent. Come on van, come on van.
After eventually watching our van go past, I found myself on Edge Avenue, which was home to another stop.
It's the playground that keeps popping up on Google Maps for me. But getting here means I'm about to start a massive 2-kilometre uphill stretch. Wouldn't surprise me if I'm walking some of it.
I decided to stick to the footpath on Edge Avenue in the event the steep hill became too much for me and I would have to walk. Soon I arrived onto Pottery Road, where the uphill riding continued. Like Cato Street earlier, it wasn't a stupidly steep climb, but I found myself struggling, and so veered onto the footpath once more. Thankfully, another park was in the vicinity.
This is the park that has caused me to go up on this massive detour up Pottery Road. Actually not a bad spot though, really. You got the small creek there. Oh, legs are starting to feel it, that's for sure.
This was only the second time I'd been this far up Pottery Road. My route took me onto Ruth Drive, however, and after climbing some more, I came to a very enjoyable stretch of the ride, with a nice downhill gradient, smooth roads, and some nice views across the city.
Tell you what, it's not a bad view from up here.
Once on Shirley Boulevard, I was able to utilise a bit of a shortcut to get me through to Brushy Creek Road. Some barriers may have slowed me down, but not for long, as I found myself at the next park.
I'm probably going to get this pronunciation wrong, but this is Hobart Park, just on Lennon Valley Road. Driven past here quite a lot of times, but never actually set foot in the park. Oh, that was a nice downhill stretch after all that uphill. The undulation's not over though.
From Hobart Park, I was able to easily get onto the Newtown Rivulet track, which heads upstream next to Lennon Valley Road all the way to Wellington Park. As I rode behind this father and son, I ticked off park number 43, Newtown Rivulet Park. In a way, it's similar to the Hobart Linear Park in that it encompasses the area around a creek where a popular track is located. As I left the track behind though, I entered a large grassy field, which was yet another park. This one was Rangeview Crescent Reserve. By this stage I knew I had yet another steep climb ahead. Luckily for me, the presence of another park meant I could break up the climb.
Wallace Avenue Playground, the first of 3 or 4 playgrounds in this KALANG, GIARABONG Road area. There's the sign over there in case anyone's interested. Just a small little spot here with the one slide and swing.
After leaving Wallace Avenue Playground, I surprised myself by riding up the steep climb to KALANG Avenue, where I unusually didn't have to wait for any cars. KALANG Avenue is usually a busy thoroughfare, so I wasn't complaining. The brief downhill ride to GIARABONG Road was bittersweet, as I knew I had one more nasty climb which would conclude my undulation period of the ride. A short way up GIARABONG Road was my next stop.
Steeper than I thought. GIARABONG Road Playground, yet there isn't even a playground here, just some benches. It's quite funny. And there's a car coming down. Well, at least the downhill's coming down this was fun.
And that it would be. I had to reach the top of the hill though, as that was where yet another small park was located.
Another small playground, Risley Court. It's a bit faded, that sign, but hey, at least there's a lot of downhill to come over the next few kilometres. I've earned this. Oh.
The tough riding was over. I wouldn't have much uphill riding for quite some time. so I thought.
Oh man, uphill again.
I had to detour up the no-through road part of KALANG Avenue and found myself climbing once more. Luckily this wasn't too steep though, and the playground that was at the end of the road was reached.
What I actually like about this park most isn't so much the play equipment, it's the view up to the mountain. That looks superb. Perfect winter's day.
At last I was able to drop back down to Lenna Valley Road after a tough stint through the area around Barossa Hill.
Less than ideal.
After dealing with the bus that had pulled in, I cruised on down the road until the bus decided it wanted to get past me. I obliged, pulling into a parking bay of sorts. As I approached the Lenna Valley RSL, I realised that the half-century was approaching.
This is Haldane Reserve. Well, I think that's what it's called. Not really signposted or anything, but it's just a strip of land that goes in between the urban areas.
With 49 parks visited, I patiently waited for the cars so I could cross over to John Turnbull Park. What is it with all these parks named after Johns? John Turnbull Park was actually 3 different parks. The regular park, which was my 50th park.
Well, that's 50.
The Oval, and finally the dog park. Before I was able to reach the dog park though, the gravel track decided it wanted the last laugh.
Look at this idiot. My favourite place to umpire.